Hi everyone, it's Mark again, and we're on to step 3 of the Passport to Creativity system, which is know. We talked about step 1, which was understand, which is understanding why it's so beneficial and awesome to be creative. Step 2 was really about belief and knowing that you also are creative, no matter what you believed in the past, that you can change that belief because everyone is creative. And step 3, know, is really all about knowing how to be creative. All the steps or stages, there's different models that can kind of help you access your creativity. And so I'm going to go into those next. So I mentioned this idea of different models for the creative process, essentially, or how to be creative. And so I want to share each of those individually because they are their own model and they have their own language and their own reason for being. So the first model I want to talk about is kind of the OG for me, the original process that I saw, and I always called it the creative process up until I saw new models and realized maybe that's too generic a term. So I'm going to call this particular process or series of steps the 30,000 foot view. There's probably a better name for it. Unfortunately, I can't find the original because it was 20 years ago, and I don't know who to attribute it to. But essentially, this was the process that people saw and observed in people who went through the process of being creative, going from like not having an idea, working their butt off, and eventually having this breakthrough. So this is more like almost like documented of what occurs naturally for people who go through the process. So there are 6 stages essentially to this this creative process, the 30,000 foot view. I have seen it with 4 stages or 5 stages, but the stages were kind of mentioned inside the other stages. So some people just combined a couple of stages, others extrapolated them. I like the 6 stages because then you can kind of like say, no, this is actually another stage, accept this as a stage. So the first stage is really investigation, which, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. Second stage is frustration, which is kind of critical to know that it's a part of the creative process. Stage 3 is incubation. Stage 4 is illumination. Stage 5 is evaluation, and stage 6 is elaboration. There's just too many Asians in this thing. But those are the 6 steps, and we'll go into each one individually. So stage 1 is investigation. It really means doing the work. So essentially, this is where you're just trying to come up with an idea. You're trying to come up with a solution. You're making effort. You're using your brain. You're thinking. You're really trying to come up with an idea. You might do some research. You might look into the problem. You might do competitive research, comparative research, or those are kind of business terms, but you might also look at like what inspires you, what doesn't inspire you. Just kind of doing all the homework or the work that it takes to try to come up with a solution on your own. And sometimes that works. Sometimes all you have to do is just try and you'll get it. You don't have to be that creative to get it done. But sometimes it doesn't work. The second stage is frustration. This is the stage that some of the models I mentioned that are shorter, this is the one they leave out. They mention it in the other stages, but I like pulling it out because it's important to recognize this is natural. You're trying to accomplish something that your left brain just isn't capable of doing. You're trying to use linear thinking when you could really use some nonlinear thinking and kind of leverage your subconscious. There's a common image of the iceberg. You see only like a small portion of what the iceberg really is. And it's similar with your left brain. Your conscious brain is up here doing this much work. You're trying to do all the work there, but you really could use this kind of help. And so you're just going to get frustrated. And it's good to know that that's a part of the process. Accept that and move forward, as opposed to giving up, because the frustration just makes you think, oh, I can't do it. So stage 3 is incubation, which is a natural result of frustration. You've been trying to get something accomplished and it's not happening. You're not achieving it. The linear processing capabilities in your brain are not sufficient. And so instead of giving up when you get frustrated, now you want to basically just kind of let it go. Is there a way for you to be able to take your mind off of what you're trying to achieve? Ideally you can like take a walk or do something fun, do something leisurely, get a massage, go to bed, just something to be able to take your mind off of it. Or if you're a professional and you have to get stuff done, is there a way to shift what you're focused on so that you're still letting go of that particular problem or solution, or thing you're trying to achieve, and you're still getting other things done and accomplished? So incubation, let it go. Let the rest of your brain take over, the nonlinear part of your brain take over. So stage 4 is illumination. And there's not really much to this stage because it's literally the moment of aha. It's the eureka moment. Often these things happen like when somebody, when you were driving or were doing something kind of mindless. The most famous example, people say, I came up with it in the shower. Basically the left brain's been chillaxing and processing things in a relatively routine manner, and the right brain and the subconscious have been really working, and boom, there's the idea. So now you've got an idea, you're not done. There's 2 more stages to go. The stage 5 is evaluation, because even though you had an aha moment, and even though at the time it seemed brilliant, and it's definitely fresh and new, is it actually going to work? Is it actually going to meet all of the criteria that you really wanted it to meet? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. So it's really important at this point to evaluate whether or not that idea is the one to go forward with. We have more capacity for more ideas, so you don't have to fall in love with your first big idea. There might be another one still in there, and you just have to kind of go back to kind of almost stage 1 and kind of refine what you're trying to achieve to help your brain process what's necessary for your idea. So stage 6, the last of this particular model for the creative process, is elaboration. Because you get an idea, more often than not, it's the seed of an idea. It's the beginning of an idea. It gives you a direction to go into. And also you have to kind of make it work in the real world. Are there things it'll bump up against? It's ideal in your head. How does it work in the real life? So those are kind of the next steps, and it can be a lot of work. But basically you want to elaborate on that idea and kind of birth it and raise it into the idea that it needs to be able to survive the real world. So to summarize that process, which I started calling the 30,000 foot view, there's 6 stages that you go through. Do your hard work, get your left brain really working hard, try and solve that problem. If it doesn't, you'll be frustrated. Instead of giving up, let it go, take your mind off of it, but let your your right brain and your subconscious process it. You'll have an eureka moment, an aha moment, an illumination stage. Then you want to evaluate it, make sure it'll work, and then you want to take it into the real world with elaboration. So those are the 6 steps or stages that you naturally move through when coming up with an idea. A lot of people do, and they've reported these exact same stages. The next thing I want to share is a neat model with archetypes by Roger Van Eyck, I think is how you pronounce his name, and we'll go into that next.